And alrighty, folks. Sorry for keeping you guys waiting. If you happen to be waiting out there, just a little bit behind schedule here today. Had a couple of personal errands needed to be run. Basically, my daughter wanted to go to her grandmother's, so and there was unexpected traffic on the way. Alright, excuses. I'm here anyway, nonetheless, and I'm going to deliver you today's 420 news. And my name is Martin Condon, guys, and today's 420 news is brought to you by Martin's World. Guys, hope you're all doing good out there. Hope you survived the weekend. There's a few unfortunate people who got caught with some cannabis over the weekend, and I'm going to bring some of that news to you quite shortly. But before I do, guys, remember if you want to help me and Ireland legalise cannabis, you can do so by signing up to the patreon.com/Martin's World, and all funds generated there will be used for renting out a premises to bring together the cannabis activists and community in Cork and around Ireland together, and so we can better organise ourselves and strengthen the community, because again, as I say, cannabis legalisation is coming, guys. It's only a matter of time, and together we're stronger. Also on martinsworld.e, if you want to make a donation through Bitcoins, there's a button up there as well that you can do it just through a few quick simple old clicks. So onwards we go, guys. I hope your 420 was good. Mine was pretty good. Had a savage dinner and I'm stuffed now, so apologies if I fall into a food coma halfway through this. But the first person on today's news is going to be the Minister for Justice. So here we have the Minister for Justice, Helen McEntee, and she's asking people to make sure that you have your say. And what's she asking you to have your say in? Well, basically, they're looking for submissions from the public as to how to shape certain policies. Now, keep in mind, none of this stuff is binding. I'd done the questionnaire earlier, and it's rather short. They want 250 words or less on. There was 5 questions, I think it was. It's quite vague. It wasn't very in depth at all or anything, but it was worthwhile in doing it. So I suggest anybody at all who has an opinion on a number of issues. So I'm just going to pop them up here, what they're actually consulting on. So if you're watching this video, what you're looking at here, I'm going to bring it up on my own screen bigger so I can actually read it. So the plan will set out goals and values of the department, and of course for how the minister and the department will drive reforms and improve public services across the justice sector. The action plan will be reviewed annually. The minister's priorities for the department will be in the following key areas. So in number 1, tackle crime, preserve national security, and transform policing. So guys, when you get to this part of the question, for me, tackle crime. So what I would like to see is drug users be removed from that target, i.e. the decriminalisation of drug users. Therefore, we're reducing the crime load that our Gardaí have to deal with, which in turn will preserve our national security, because we'll have a more effective police force. And this in turn then will transform the policing, because we no longer then have our Gardaí divided in our communities, because there is communities out there who will protect the drug dealers, and this divides the communities. If you decriminalise the drug user, if you legalise and regulate the supply of the drugs, that's going to transform policing. So there you go, guys. That's how you answer question 1. At least that's how I answered question 1 anyway. The decriminalisation of the drug user, I also mentioned inside that would be allowing heroin-assisted therapies. So that's like not having heroin for sale on the street corner, but a person who is addicted to it could go in and register, as they do already in other countries, and they do it quite well, i.e. Switzerland, and they can go in there and get their heroin where they no longer need to go and buy it from a dealer, and they no longer need to become a dealer themselves to fund their habit, and their underlying health issue, which is causing their addiction, can be addressed, which could help the person get off the drugs. So you could include that there if you so wish. You could go on and you could go into cocaine then, but that it's a harder one for us to argue here, because the benefits would be seen here definitely, but I think there's a bigger benefits to be seen in the areas where those drugs are produced, Colombia and places like that. Then number 2 on the list, there's improve access to justice and modernise the court systems. So again, improve access to justice. You decriminalise the drug user, and you're reducing the burden that's put upon the justice system by criminalising these drug users. And you can modernise the court systems by coming into the bloody 21st century. Come on, be a bit more progressive now. We've legalised gay marriage. We've okayed abortion. The next on the list now in the terms of the pathway in progress and modernising ourselves, decriminalise the drug user, legalise and regulate cannabis, and let the other experts come in and tell us what to do about how we deal with the other drugs, because I'm not an expert there, but I certainly know a thing or two about cannabis. Number 3, strengthen the community safety, reduce reoffending, support victims, and combat domestic, sexual and gender-based violence. Again, decriminalise the drug user, because this will strengthen our community in turn. This too will reduce the crime load that the Gardaí have to deal with, which will make them more effective in supporting victims of domestic and sexual and gender-based violence. Like the whole lot, it all ties into it here in how we deal with things. Again, deliver a fair immigration system for a digital age. There's very little I can say there in terms of addressing our drug policy and stuff. What I did say in that is, by keeping drugs illegal, you're now putting these people who are maybe vulnerable, people maybe seeking asylum and things like that, they're vulnerable to be sucked up by the criminal gangs out there who will hire these people and basically take advantage of them in their vulnerable state. So that was the point I made there. It was more to do with asylum seekers and how these people can be vulnerable and taken advantage of. And I also talked a little bit about, in that point, on human trafficking and the reoccurrence of the Vietnamese people being found in the grow houses across Ireland and the UK. So that was what I included there. Then number 5, accelerate innovation, digital transformation and climate action across the justice sector. Well, there was literally, like it said there in that, except the fact that legalising cannabis will allow people to grow it out their back gardens, and that will reduce the burden on the climate by reducing the energy consumption. But there's very little we could say there. But number 1, 2 and 3 are certainly areas, if you're a proponent of policy change on things like decriminalising the drug user, legalising cannabis, and decriminalising like other drugs, opening up maybe the pathway for, like they've done now in Washington and places, for psilocybin therapies and for other psychedelic and kind of plant medicines. So there's definitely areas there that we can be focusing on out through this. Again, guys, I wouldn't hold my breath that we're going to see any good come of this, but look, feck it, it's there for us to take part in it. It's what we got. Let's just do our part and take part in it and hope. There is a slight chance, I just wouldn't be holding my breath. So yeah, that's pretty much kind of what I wanted to say there. I'll just finish off what it says. It says, speaking about the development of the plan, Minister Helen McEntee said, I will lead a programme of change and reform across the justice sector to make our community safer by reducing reoffending and harm, to support the victims of crime, to reform the law and how our systems work, and to use the powers of digital technology to overhaul the experience people have when they use our services. In this consultation, I want to hear from people and organisations across the country, and after we publish our plan, regular implementation reports and listening to people through ongoing consultation will be key parts of the process. So that's pretty much what she says. I'm just would be interested as to support the victims of crime. Okay, how do you support the victim of my crime, Helen? I got caught with 10 euros worth of cannabis. Where's my victim? How do you support them? You can't, can you? There is no victim. There's me. I'm a victim of my own crime. If you want to help me, legalise and regulate cannabis, and you'll be helping a lot more people besides. Anyway, guys, onwards we go, because I'll get a bit ranty there about our buddy Helen and the Justice Department. So that was just a little bit there from Ireland, and it was a little bit call to action there for you out there. There's a link there. I'll share it on the show notes, so you can find it, and you can have your say in that too. So onwards we go, guys. We're moving on over here now. So in front of us we have the Mayor of New Jersey. So the Mayor of New Jersey, where they recently legalised the sale and supply of cannabis for adults aged 21 and older. So well done again in New Jersey, guys. Amazing. Hopefully I might get to visit you sometime, but I have to go through the hoops to get my visa to visit America, unfortunately, because I have a criminal record. So for 2 years, the Mayor of Chemung, Burlington County, he's been pitching his homeland, Pinelands, as a potential marijuana epicenter in the anticipation of a legalization. Well, guess what? Here it is. And the Cross said that he thinks it's fantastic, and that he says farmers have been struggling for a long time, and it's about time now that they have access to a proper crop to grow. He says someone has to grow all that weed, and he'd like a lot of it to be grown in Chemung. That's a really cool name for a place. I didn't even know there was a place called Chemung. Interesting. And he goes on to say, because marijuana is illegal at the federal level, it can't be transported across state lines. But he still sees a lot of potential on it within the state. But it'd be interesting to see what's going to happen now. You know, while we have a lot of positive outcomes there in the American votes there on drug policy, it's recently come to light now that Biden, it seems, is going to be the winner of the presidential election. It seems Trump has thrown all his toys out of the pram, kicking up a bit of a fuss about it. But we'll see what's to come anyway come January. And who will be in office then, and what actually happens between now and then. But just to go back, that a big part of some of the presidential debates and discussions was around the idea of cannabis and the topic of cannabis. And Trump said he'd leave it up to the states to do what they wanted to do, and he wasn't going to be enacting any change on the federal level, which is kind of scumbagish. And I reckon that's most likely what cost him the election. Whereas Biden and Kamala Harris, they basically said that they would decriminalize it at the federal level, which is effectively kind of allowing, what the mayor there kind of talked about, the transportation over state lines, which would be an issue. So, like, it's all well and good being an area that can produce a load, but New Jersey, it's not a majorly big state, so they would like to export it. So it'd be interesting to see if Biden and Kamala, like, if they do decriminalize cannabis at the federal level, will this now open up the states for open transportation of cannabis between state lines? And will it also open up the gates for more states to come forward now and legalise and regulate the sale and supply of cannabis? Because leaving it in the control of criminals is just stupid. It really is. Like, there's been people on, like, Hair calling me all sorts of names recently. There's been two posts or 3 posts that for some reason went really viral over the last week or two. Like 500,000, or one of them's got 250,000 views. Absolutely ridiculous. But 90% of the comments coming in are absolutely amazing, guys. Well done, and thanks everybody for your support. But there's about 10% of them coming in, and they're giving me all sorts of stick, calling me all sorts of names, and like, how can you support prohibition? I just don't understand how anybody can keep a straight face and support prohibition. Like, it's just outrageous that they do. And onwards we go anyway, guys. David Attenborough, unsuspecting guy to be making the 420 news, but he makes the 420 news, and unfortunately he doesn't make it with a big spliff in his hand or anything like that. No, David Attenborough's making the 420 news today because, unfortunately, he's been the victim of some shysters out there who basically took it upon themselves to rip off the good name of Sir David Attenborough. And it's unfortunate. Like, I really like this guy, love his documentaries, amazing to watch on mushrooms if if you haven't already. Just a really, really good experience. But like to see him getting ripped off in this is a shame. But you know what? I think it is a shame, but it's a great opportunity because it brings to light the big issues that need to be addressed there around the regulation and of these kind of products. So CBD and THC and all of this, like because of the prohibition that's existed and the scheduling and all of the nonsense that went on over the years and the propaganda. A lot of the messaging, the information around cannabis only got out because of the internet. And because of that now, there's a lot of information out there that shouldn't really be out there. It's a bit misleading and there's false claims being made and it's not backed up by science a lot of the times. And this is a discussion that needs to be had, but it can only be had once we stop this nonsense of continuing the reefer madness and all of this kind of propaganda, because it's just going to take away value from anything you have to say if you're going to start off with, well, cannabis will rot your brain, or think of the children, or like all of this kind of fear-mongering positioning. If you start off with that stuff, you're going to lose a lot of credibility, and if you're delivering a message of harm reduction, it's going to be completely ineffective. The information is out there. Young kids know more about cannabis now than most of the kind of health experts, so to speak, But anyway, David Attenborough, here you see it. David Attenborough CBD oil, like absolutely ridiculous. David Attenborough has nothing to do with any bit of it, any CBD oil. I don't think I've ever heard the guy ever mention cannabis. I don't think I've ever seen him come up in any cannabis articles. But I really would be interested now to know his position, how he'd actually feel about cannabis legalization, So, I don't think I'd ever get him on the podcast. But here, like, there's somebody using his name. They're saying that he's selling a product. They're making false claims that David Attenborough is saying this. There's other famous people getting sucked into this then as a result. People I don't really know. I'm not too into the whole fame and fortune, but I know one of them, or two of them actually. Ed Sheeran has been included on this Facebook's page, Rowan Atkinson, and then there's also Dame Helen Mirren. That's the one I didn't know. Ed Sheeran's supposedly says that the advances David has made in the CBD industry are remarkable. And Dame Judy is supposed to have said, David gave me a sample of Nutrax oil and the product is a miracle worker. It only took a few days for me to notice a difference. Like, ridiculous, guys. Be careful. Don't be buying David Attenborough CBD oil because he doesn't have CBD oil. This is complete knockoff, and it's just downright illegal. And then you see the false health claims then that are being made, are the misleading ones at the top of that. Now, that's not to say that there isn't evidence out there to suggest that CBD oil and cannabis-based medicines can help with these things, but it's just very misleading the way in which it's delivered here. They're claiming that their product can do these things, but the product has never been tested to prove that it can do these things, so therefore they can't make these claims about their product. So yeah, it's just highlights the need for regulation and proper education about these products. And John, the longer we go on with propaganda and reefer madness, the longer that the waters are going to be muddied, and we're not going to be having proper conversations about this stuff, and people are going to be buying this in the dark, and they're going to be thinking, oh, I'm buying David Attenborough CBD oil, sure, that sounds like a reputable name. But meanwhile, like, if that same person who's so afraid to even mention that the fact that they wanted to even try a cannabis product, even if it is a CBD oil, there is still people out there who don't want to talk about cannabis or CBD because of the fear of being judged, and they're at risk of buying this stuff because of this fear and stigma that we push on people in our society by trying to discriminate people because of cannabis. Absolutely ridiculous. Um, so in other news, guys, we roll onwards and we go on to Scotland. So wish I had lovely. Well, I actually kind of do have good news to bring in some part, you know. So it starts off being about Karen and Murray Gray. So I reported on these guys. You're probably familiar if you've checked into the show a few times before. It's a £1,400 a month cost for young Murray's medicine, cannabis-based medicines to keep him epilepsy free. And sadly, the NHS won't cover the cost of this still to this day. And Karen has to go about fundraising and campaigning to raise the funds because they're unable to do so. There is an app actually that Karen's husband runs. I should have wrote down the name of it. I'm only just remembering it now off the top of my head. I'll try to include that in the show notes later. But if you buy the app, you'll be supporting Karen and Murray because it's the father's app. It's an app that helps parents with monitoring the kids' device usage or maybe controlling Wi-Fi access or something along those lines anyway. So it might be a good one to any parents out there anyway. It'll be included in the show notes. But why they're in the news today is I just like to highlight the fact that there are companies out there that are jumping on board to help with the campaign to raise money for Murray's medicine for so long as the NHS failed to provide it. And the company that are doing it today are Green Active. So Green Active, you'll find them online. Just search at Google there, Green Active CBD oil, and you'll find their website. And if you make a purchase on their website, and if you use the code word for Murray in the at the checkout, you will be given a 10% discount off your product, and also all of the profits then from that transaction will be donated towards Karen and Murray for Murray's medicine. So I just wanted to highlight that, guys. Green Active, it's a small CBD company. They only started trading in August, I believe. So it's a very new up and running family run business. So it's set up there by a husband and wife. Their names aren't written down here in my show notes now. But well done to them for doing this. So anybody who happens to be buying CBD oil, if you want to try out a new product, now I haven't tried these products at all. They're full spectrum CBD oils, so I did a bit of reading into them. They have a various range of them in terms of strength. So you've gone from 250 milligrams all the way up to 3,000 milligrams per bottle of oil. And again, as I said, it's full spectrum CBD oil, so it's not isolate. So it is one of the more preferable products. So it's something I would recommend unless I'm told otherwise. I haven't been told otherwise. I've no reason to believe there's anything wrong with this oil. I wish this company all the best going forward. I hope the laws change and that you're better enabled to deliver even better products and at a lower cost to the consumers who consume them. But again, anybody who wants to buy these, it's Green Active, and use the code word for Murray, all one word, FORMURRAY at the checkout, and all of the profits from that sale will be going towards Karen and Murray to help with the payment of Murray's cannabis medicine because the NHS refused to pay for it or provide it. So that's Green Active, guys. Check them out for CBD oils. So yeah, geez, that one triggered an emotion on me the last time, and I'm just kind of glad I got through it without shedding any tears today, because it's horrible that people have to do this because of ignorant bloody policies out there. Ignorant bloody policies that enable this kind of shit. Like, look at this here, like no shortage of money for the drug dealers out there. So cannabis, cocaine and cash, that's the headline that I got this piece from there today. And it's Gardaí sees €70,000 worth of cannabis herb and €10,000 worth of cocaine and approximately €22,000 in cash. That's cash as always. Keep in mind that goes into the exchequer. You know, it's probably used to subsidise the Doyle bar, yeah. And where the boys get the Doyle bar subsidised, we basically pay for their drug consumption and during work hours too, keep in mind above in the dial. But anyway, let's not go off on tangents. A man 40 has been arrested alongside the seizures. The seizures were made as part of an intelligence-led operation into the sale and supply of controlled drugs in Cork City. The Mallow District Drugs Unit and Mayfield District Drugs Unit conducted a number of searches in separate locations around 3 p.m. yesterday, and that was Sunday. The man who was arrested was brought to Mallow Garda Station, where he's currently being detained under Section 2 of the Criminal Justice Act 1996, and he's still in custody as of the release of that article. So, like, it's ridiculous. Like, €22,000 there spread across the table. How much money do these guys make anyway already? You know, how long have they been operating where they don't get caught? You know, it's absolutely ridiculous how much money these people make, and they can only make it because of the support of the prohibitionists who think that keeping prohibition in place is a good idea and it reduces drug use. No, it doesn't. Drugs are just as easily available, if not actually even more easily available, illegal than if they were legal. I know when I was young, it was harder to get alcohol than it was to get hash. If I had money in my pocket, no, do you know what? If I didn't have money in my pocket, I could walk down to a door, I could knock at the door, a guy would come out and he would give me hash with no money exchanged. All on the, you know, yeah, I know this fella, he'll be back when he gets paid on Friday, and boom, there you go. Like, when I was 16, 17, I was working, I was getting paid a weekly wage. I paid for my hash, I bought a little bit extra for my friends too. And I became a drug dealer because of this, you know. This is what happens. And this is what happens because of prohibition. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Whereas when I was a teenager, 16, 17, with money in my pocket, I could not walk into a store and buy alcohol. No, I had to wait for an hour or two, maybe sometimes, outside of an off license, and you might get somebody to go in for you. Other times you're hanging around for a couple of hours and you might have somebody who you ring or you text and you're waiting for them to finish work because they're 18 and they'll go get it for you. But you know, the difference was, at least when I was getting alcohol that way, if we prohibited alcohol to prevent young people from using it, if I got alcohol off of an illegal alcohol dealer, there's the likelihood he brewed it in his bathtub or something, or some stinky boot. You know, really, like, there's no regulations there when you have something prohibited and you make it illegal. The demand is still there for it, and there's going to be people who are going to fill that demand. I only talked about it last Friday, how the authorities acknowledge that there is a growing demand for drugs, and the supply then in turn is increasing, which is leading to an increase in detections, because there's just so much more drugs now coming through, especially through the mail service. It's just ridiculous that we're still continuing this nonsense. Guys, make sure you go and have your say on that thing as well, with Joanne Helen McAtee and the Justice Department. Just make sure you have your say, because this is ridiculous. It only continues because of silence, ignorance, people unwilling to question and challenge things, you know. And look at this fella, isn't he gorgeous, isn't he? He is gorgeous. Yeah, I love dogs. I absolutely love dogs, except when they're drug dogs. Because this guy is a drug dog, and I've no hard feelings against your ex. I don't hold any personal grudges, man. Like, I can see it. Like, look at his face. He's like, oh, he's upset. He knows deep down what he's done isn't good. He's kind of happy. His handler is happy, but like, I think that dog, that his soul is destroyed, because he can see the hurt he's causing to the other people when he finds their stash, or as they called it in the article there last Friday about the snitches, the West Cork drug dens. Because Rex is making the news today because he was involved in a number of searches there over the last few days. And over the last 8 days, so this is the third bust he's involved in over the last 8 days. Poor dog. So on Friday, he was sniffing out a house in West Cork, and his fine instincts led to the discovery of more than €27,000 of suspected cannabis, as well as a small amount of ecstasy. I think it was €145 worth of ecstasy, was it, or something along those lines? €175 worth of ecstasy. The find came as Gardaí moving a house just outside of Dunmanway before Rex gave them the nod. There was something fishy going on in the attic. And then that's when they made the massive discovery, like €27,000 worth of cannabis. That's not massive. If that was herb, it was just over a kilo. So it goes on to say here that as a result, Gardaí found a grow house which contained €16,800 worth of cannabis plants. And so that's just, what is that? It's just more than 20 plants, 21 plants, and €10,500 worth of cannabis herb. So there you go, like, there's your massive haul, like 21 cannabis plants and a half a kilo of cannabis. Well done, guys, like, well feckin' done. What a bust of the year, like, seriously. Gardaí also seized fans, lights and ventilation systems. Guys, all of this is cost on the state. You know, when they seize the fans, the lights and the ventilation systems, they have to dispose of them. Now, I have heard that there is garden centres and other places who benefit from this because they get the equipment, because the amount of equipment getting seized at times can be so much like that there's a big cost with disposing of it. And if there's a garden centre who's willing to come in and take a load of fans and carbon filters and all of this very useful equipment there off your hands, they're more than happy. So there's a lot of benefactors of the prohibition, but sadly our society isn't one. No, our society doesn't benefit at all. Other busts for X include November the 1st, he nabbed €8,500 worth of cocaine in Cork City. And then 2 days before that, he was in Mallow again, digging up €16,000 worth of suspected cocaine. Suspected. I'm sure the Gardaí will test it. And it was only last February, the Clever Hound led to €53,000 worth of suspected heroin getting off the streets after joining a team of Gardaí from Blarney and Cork in the Granada area. Well done, Rex. Tremendous work. Like, I'd love if Rex could tell us, like, if he'd actually enjoys doing this, or if he would maybe prefer to be sitting alongside of a person suffering with epilepsy and being there to indicate when, you know, the seizure is about to trigger. Because let's not forget, dogs are amazing and we can train them to do amazing things. As well as find drugs, they can be trained to sniff out cancer. And meanwhile, we train them to sniff out drugs because, you know, cannabis kills how many people every year? And how many people does cancer kill? And their state wastes how much money every year on cancer dogs? Zero? Oh, it's zero. Oh, it is zero. How much do they waste on drug dogs? Yeah, do you know how much they waste on drug dogs? It's a lot. So for one of these fine canines, it costs the state somewhere in the region of 100,000 in the startup phase. So in the first year, a drug dog will cost the state €100,000, and the duration of service then for these drug dogs is somewhere in the region of 5 to 7 years, and then the dog is retired into the care of their handler. Interesting. And then there's an annual cost after the initial startup cost of 100 grand of 40,000 per year. 40,000 euro per year and 100,000 startup cost, all to find cannabis and drugs. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, as I say, how many people die from cannabis overdoses every year? Really, you know? Who wants cannabis, you know? Lots of people. Who wants cancer? Nobody. How many dogs are we training in Ireland to sniff cancer out? Now, guys, I'm going stretching out. It's probably a very difficult thing for a dog to sniff out cancer, but it's a doable task. And just kind of highlighting the fact that we waste more energy and resources in fighting drugs than we do fighting cancer. And I think that the longer we do it, I think that is a cancer on our society, sadly. So yeah, Rex, man, you're a lovely dog. I hope someday you don't have to do this. You're looking forward to retirement, I'm sure. um, yeah, there was another article actually I came across when doing a little bit of research there on the drug dogs and stuff to try to find out how much it costs to stay the year. I came across this story where this lovely canine, lovely Springer, lovely dogs, but this dog was used again to sniff out. So the drug dog was used to sniff out 1.15 kilos of cannabis that was found inside in a Hoover. That sucked. Sorry, couldn't help it. But yeah, that really did suck because it was a 17-year-old that this was being delivered to. So this happened back in 2018, and I was unable to find any outcome of this court case. But there was a young fella, 17, and he was getting 1.15 kilos of cannabis delivered to his house, and it got intercepted on the way by the drug dog. And there was a controlled delivery done then, and the young fella got caught. 17 years of age and 1.15 kilos of cannabis. There's that's just that was 23,000 euro worth of cannabis. That's how much they valued that at. Like, that's ridiculous that a 17-year-old is getting that amount of cannabis delivered to him. I didn't have that amount of money to be ordering cannabis, and I unless he's well connected and the dealer is willing to just post it to him. I know when I was getting, I got a kilo of cannabis when I was younger on tick, and I went and collected it, and I only got it in tick because I knew the person I was getting it off of, and that was it. But I wouldn't have had the cash to buy it, and I could guarantee you if I got intercepted on the way home and I owed that person money, regardless of me having that cannabis or not, that person would still want their money, and me not giving their name to the Gardaí, that probably wouldn't suffice as payment at all in any way, shape or form. I would have been left with an 8,000 euro debt over my head, because that's what a kilo of cannabis was costing me on tick at the time. Its value at the street level was worth 20,000 euro, based on what the cops say. So I would be very curious. As I say, I did try to find stuff on this, but because of the age of the person involved, they are not named. So it's very hard then to find anything in the courts in relation to the outcome of this case. It's just very sad to see, and just to think as to how it might have played out, potential outcomes. As I say, just using my own lived experience, I wouldn't have liked to have had that debt over my head. I know I would have done my best to have paid it off. I don't think I would have been at risk of violence, but there definitely would have been a bit of a heavy-handed asking, but it wouldn't have been really violent. It would have been just heavily suggestive that they want their money. So I just wanted to bring that up. Like, this is our drug dogs, kind of how they're at work, and this is our taxpayers' money hard at work. 17-year-olds, come on, prohibitionists out there, how can you support this any longer? This is an absolute joke. It's a failure. The war on drugs has failed. Congratulations, drugs, you have won. Drugs have won the war on drugs. They did. There's no denying it. Like, unless you want to fight on for another 40 years. But come on, like, this is costing our society greatly. End it right now. Helen McEntee and et al., all of these other guys in power in our government. Scumbags. But anyway, onwards we go. Last piece of news today, guys, is a 70-year-old man caught with 9,000 euro worth of cannabis. 70 years of age. Poor fella, by feck's sake. Like, absolutely ridiculous. 70 years of age, and he's getting cops coming in around his property. A 70-year-old musician who grew cannabis and smoked it for creativity purposes was caught with more than 9,000 euro worth of the drug in his Glengarriff home. Guys, Glengarriff is absolutely a beautiful part of our country. I love West Cork. Sorry. Every time I talk about it, I can't help but picture all of the picturesque views down there. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's a place I always say I'd love to be able to retire to at 70 and grow my cannabis down there too. Here's this fella, 70 years of age, most likely grew a bit of cannabis, and the cops come and take it. It's just this, it's wrong. It's so fucking wrong. A man at that time of his life. A large quantity of cannabis was found on 2 premises. So this is Garda John O'Sullivan, who went to the house. He took a cautioned memo of the interview, and he admitted owning all of the cannabis found. So this is the musician. So the musician's name was Paul Grant. So shout out to Paul Grant. Paul, man, if you want to come on, share your story, if you want to play us a song, I'd gladly have you on here. It's just scumbaggery what's going on here. People getting their stuff taken off him. So he had 466 grams of cannabis taken. He's 70 years old and suffers ill health. He was cooperative at all times. He is a musician and he uses cannabis for creativity purposes, Garda O'Sullivan said. Defence barrister Peter O'Flynn said he is not involved in anything like this anymore. What do you mean like this anymore? It wasn't even a bad thing that he was doing. He had fucking cannabis on him. Like, this is what I hate about the court system, and it's what I hate about these judges and the solicitors, like the lies, the stupidness that goes on there. You're going to get locked. Like, I'm going to get locked. Like, people tell me that I'm going to get locked up, not because of what I do, but because of the way in which I do it. It's because of my willingness to stand up for my beliefs that I'm more than likely to get locked up. Because I'm not willing to go in and do this bullshit in the court and say, yes sir, no sir, I'm sorry sir, I'll never do it again sir. Knowing full well that is a lie. I do not want to go in there and lie to a judge. Why do I want to do that? Surely the most righteous thing a person can do, especially in a democracy, is to stand up to and challenge these unjust laws. The longer we bend over to these things and take it right up to behind, like, the longer it's going to continue to other people. We cannot just bend over and take this anymore. Like, I can't anymore. I'm not. I'd gladly be locked up for my beliefs. I'd gladly stand tall and proud for what I believe in, because it is not wrong. Cannabis use should not be a criminal behaviour. It is ridiculous. What is criminal is locking a person up for their choice to consume a herb. Their choice to want a better quality of life. Their choice for an alternative way in which to be creative, or to open themselves up to creative thoughts and pathways. Absolutely scumbaggery what we do to allow this to continue in this 2020. And who's seen over this, guys? My old buddy, Judge Sean O'Donovan. So, given the defendant's age and poor health, Judge Sean O'Donovan said he would impose a suspended sentence of 2 years. The judge made a condition of the suspension that the accused would give an undertaking to allow Gardaí to inspect the premises at any time within the next 2 years. Paul Grant gave this undertaking. And I'm sorry you had to do that, Paul, and I'm sorry you were even asked to do such a thing. It is absolutely atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. This undermines our constitution. It really does. You have no right to privacy anymore. No, you do not. If you were a cannabis consumer, you have no protection under the constitution, because it's just wrong on so many levels, guys. And for people to just think that this is okay. This is much more than me just wanting cannabis. This is much more than that. If I wanted cannabis, guys, I could just put down my laptop right now. I could delete my page and I could go home and I can smoke cannabis. It is not hard to get it. It's not. It would be so much more easier for me to do all that now. Just go home, enjoy life, enjoy time with my family, try to keep my head down, try not to put a target on my back and attract unwanted attention from the Gardaí and the authorities. That would be so much more easier for me than being here telling you this stuff, delivering this news, and doing all this activism that I do to get the policy change. Like, that's not an easy task to do. And I don't do it just for the simple desire to consume cannabis. It is not. It is a much greater thing. It's about freedom. It really is. We are not free people. We are people with the illusion of freedom. But you ask any gay man 20 years ago or 30 years ago when it was criminal for them to be express who they are in society. If you ask them if they felt like a free person, and I don't think that they would have. I think if you ask any of them now, looking back on it, if they felt like free people, I don't think they'll tell you that they do. Looking back on it now, they certainly don't. And going forward, guys, this is something that needs to be changed, and it's only going to change if we stand up, have our say, and fight for what is right. Guys, what's the point of having beliefs if you're not going to stand up for them? Really, there is no point to having beliefs if you're not willing to stand up for them. And you know what, guys, that's it for today's 420 news, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And I know I enjoyed putting it together for you and delivering it to you, because, as I say, this is just one way in which I deal with my activism. We're under lockdown and all this stuff. We can't be out protesting now or anything like that. So look, I'm working my ass off here to build an audience, to build an army of people who agree with what it is that I'm saying, who agree with the policy changes that are needed to better our society. Because guys, it's you out there, it's the people who have the power to bring about this change. And the media, the mainstream media, that is, they deliver this news in a very, very biased way. If we go back to our buddy Rex, like the drug dog, the news articles that were out there written about him, they were glorifying him and his work, and none of it at all was highlighting the knock-on effect of it and asking who are the people behind the bus, the people who are being criminalized in this, because they are ultimately the victim as well in their own crime. Like, this 17-year-old, in that story, and not one point in that story did they highlight the for sure harms that criminalizing this 17-year-old is going to do to his future. Like, when we look at cannabis, the question is out there, like, whether cannabis will it or won't it do harm to a person. It's a roll of the dice. But if you criminalize a person, it is a certainty you are going to harm that person. And how can we argue for criminalizing a person that's going to certainly harm them, or it's in argue to reduce the potential harms of using a substance, Like, we're going to do certain harm if we criminalize a person, but if we allow a person to consume cannabis, let's say, for example, it's not certain that they're going to do harm, The percent of the population that get harmed by cannabis, it's actually very low, and so many people use cannabis daily, and it doesn't impact negatively on their life or their day-to-days, They get on quite well. But when you criminalize them, you knock them back in a major way. And I can tell you that now from experience, that being criminalized for cannabis use, it's not a nice experience. Got a court date coming up on it's either the 23rd or the 24th of November. I'm pretty sure it was the 23rd on a Monday. I'll hopefully get a letter about it soon, but sure, I'll go in on the 23rd anyway if I don't get a letter about it, just to be sure. Guys, I don't know, should I do a little socially distant protest down outside of the courthouse? I don't know, I'm thinking about it, calling a little gathering of people to come down, but I don't know, it might seem a bit irresponsible. I don't want to come across as irresponsible at all. But my court case is a protest, like it is a protest. I'm going not guilty because I didn't consent to the search. I gave no consent to the search. They didn't give me the opportunity to be arrested. I asked them to arrest me. They wouldn't arrest me. They should have arrested me. They didn't follow due process, and I'm going not guilty because they didn't follow due process, and I'm hoping I'll get off on that. And might set a precedent out there for other people. But should I don't know, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think. Should I call a little gathering there on the day? I'm going to go live anyway on the morning of. Anyway, I'm going to do. If the weather is permitting, I'll do a walk and talk on the way to the court. If the weather is shit, I'm going to park my car in the parking lot there somewhere nearby. Anyway, probably by the city hall, and I'll do a live then just as I go to the court from there as well. A little bit of a walk and talk. I don't know. Let me know what you think, guys. It's bullshit. Like I think there's power in numbers there. Might send a nice picture to the media. A load of people lined the street there outside of the Anglesey Street courthouse. Picturing it, it's a nice picturesque walkway. And some nice colourful placards and stuff, and some friendly chants. It'd be great if I could. Yeah, no, actually, the new layout of the courthouse, you would have to be at the other side of the courthouse now for me to hear you inside. So I wouldn't hear you inside, sadly, if you were outside chanting. But it'd be nice to have something there beforehand. But again, I'm not calling for it right now. I'm just throwing it out there as an idea. What do you guys think? Do you think that would look badly? Socially distanced, 2 meters apart, only people living near the city or, within close on a bus route anywhere. I know it's 5 kilometers, but surely this is a reason to go outside of the 5 kilometers for a socially distant protest. I don't know, I'm leave it out there, Chi. I'm just looking at your comments there now, guys. So, Nicola at the top, she's watching, and Caden is watching. Guys, nice one for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope I didn't waffle on too much there at any points. Dave then says that it's a disaster, sir, especially with that coming up this month. Yeah, with the court case and all that. Yeah, it certainly is, man. Shane Ward is asking, where am I from? Cork City, man. I don't know if the accent might have gave it away, but it might change because of my presenter voice here on the podcast. I don't know. Cork City kid. Francis says he never misses my 420. Always great to listen, and you should set up a 420 FM. Interesting one, man. That's a good idea. 420 FM. I don't think the station goes down that low. It's like 98s and 10 whatever, but maybe 104.20. I don't know. Anyway, 14.20. No, that won't work. But 420 FM, and that sounds nice. A nice one for the comment. Stephen is tagging his buddy Gary. Nice one for doing that there, Stephen. Spreading the word, lads, helping me get it out there. Helen says then that making nature illegal has always seemed a little, I don't know, unnatural to me. It certainly is. It's criminal. Making nature illegal is criminal. It shouldn't have been done. Shouldn't have ever been done. I live as long as David. I might just to try it. Oh, David Attenborough, that is there, yeah. Plenty of coke in the dial. Yeah, there is plenty of coke in the dial. Like the boys in the suits love their coke. Like somebody said that to me there not too long ago as well. It's just like, do you know how are people going to take you serious when you dress like you do? And I think there is a bit of like a value to that to a point. But at the same time, I can't help but think, like, why would I want to dress up like a cocaine user? I'd rather dress like a cannabis user or whatever that might look like. Some people thinks it looks like a guy in a tracksuit. But realistically, I'm in a tracksuit because, guys, I'm an outgoing guy. I'm an active guy. I was out feeding my chickens this morning, walking my dogs. Do you know, I do martial arts, self-defense, all of that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not a suit-wearing guy. I like to work in a lab, like a lab coat. Do you know, that's it. Like, I like to work in a garden and welly boots and stuff. Like, I'm not a suit wearing guy, and I just don't see why I should wear a suit. I don't see how it changes what it is that I'm saying. I will say the exact same things in these clothes as I will in a suit. I just don't understand that at all. Like, and sorry, it goes off in tangents. Like, all this because of coke in the dial. Anyone got any green? I am running seriously low, and that's not me. That's coming in from David McNally. Anyone out there help David out, boys? He's running low. David, there's plenty of plugs out there. If you want to get a source from inside Ireland, check out. I feel bad calling out any of these usernames on here, so I won't. Just look around on Instagram. Hit me a message on Instagram, and I'll send you a username that you can go to. And he seems to be credible, and he doesn't mind me sending people to him. So I don't mind sending people to him as long as he's not ripping people off, and he seems to be okay. So I'll do that as long as it seems that way. Helen then says that just has to be decriminalized on a global level. Take the crime aspect out of it. Exactly, on a global level, this is when it's going to work most greatly. But we can start nationally and move on to the global stage afterwards. I certainly agree with you, though. It is a global issue because of it's because of the US as well. Something I talked about last week, how the US were the big pushers, pardon the pun there, for drug policy at the UN level. It was at that UN level then that all of our nations kind of had to adopt this treaty. Initially, it was the earlier one. It was around hash and I don't know, do they call them Egyptian cigarettes or something like that. And then later on in the 1961, they kind of upgraded that then to be the UN Narcotics Act. But that was the US, and now we see it in the US. So 15 states that have illegal cannabis, at least for adults aged 21 and over, and over 33 states now where they have it legal for medicinal reasons. And initially, they were the big guys who caused the whole globe to bloody start this war on drugs in the first place. It just seems fitting now that it just be brought to an end, seeing as this amount of changes happening in the US. They even have one state that's gone as far as decriminalising all drugs, and well done to them there. I think that was Oregon. And then you've Washington, D.C. that has even gone and decriminalised things like ayahuasca and psilocybin mushrooms. Amazing plant medicines that should be in the hands of professionals and therapists, and unfortunately, no. They're kept in the dark. I'm sad. Ken says, back in the day we bought our own booze at 13, was drinking in the pubs at 14, rural Ireland in the 90s. Yeah, happy days when old school Ireland, I can remember going down to the shop like with a handwritten note from my mum. I can remember actually not even needing a note. I can remember that change when the shopkeeper wouldn't serve me fags unless I had a note from my mum, because I couldn't write a note myself. But somehow the note made it okay anyway. And it was interesting to see the change then over time. And I can remember my mum and dad being kind of really annoyed. Well, not my dad actually. He had a heart attack and gave up smoking fags. But when the change of selling tobacco to minors came about, so he didn't really experience that. But my mum was kind of annoyed she couldn't send her young kids down to the shop to get fags anymore, like that the letter wasn't good enough anymore. These damn drug regulations. But at least my mum doesn't have to go and get her fags from a bloody cigarette dealer because there's a prohibition in place. Like, at least, she can still go get them herself once she produces her ID and shows she's over 18. Helen says CBD isn't good as a full spectrum THC. Yeah, no, I would agree with you there. But each to their own. I think CBD certainly has a place there as a supplement for a lot of things, and coupled with THC then in the right ratio, it's absolutely a game changer. A massive amount of CBD with a very small amount of THC there, like a 20-to-1 ratio, like even at that level, if you're talking 20%, 1% CBD to THC, you're still looking at good things happening. Whereas currently we're not even allowed that kind of a ratio. It's 0.2% THC is what a farmer is allowed, and that's like the upper limit. They don't even get anywhere near that amount in there. It's absolutely ridiculous, the state of some of the products that are on the market out there at the moment, compared to what would be available if we had proper bloody regulations in place that didn't inhibit our farmers from producing high quality products. We have Terry here as well, adding that she spoke to her doctor today, asked him about what did he think. He said it should be made legal, but he can't see it happen anytime soon. And do you know why that is, Terry? Because doctors like himself who thinks it should happen, they're not open in this, like they're not out there, they're not being heard because of the stigma and because of how they would be targeted within their own community if they did, And then Terry points out 70 poor man, relating to the story about your man in his 70s. Conal Moore, did anything come out about your protesting to the barracks, Martin? No, nothing has come out there yet about the protest. Not as of yet, anyway. I don't expect anything to come of it either. And if it does, I'm going back in there and going to do loads more like that. And there's still going to be loads more anyway, even if they don't, to come just like that protest. Stephen says Wednesday, and I will now be joined with Tom Curran, first in a series of talks running until December 9th with some stoner Martin's World. Nice one, Stephen. So, yeah, Stephen there is working with the DCU Students for Sensible Drugs Policy and the DCU Students Union, and they're putting together a series of talks that are going to be happening once a week, every Wednesday, starting this Wednesday. So there's a link in the comments if you want to find it. And yeah, well done, Stephen, there on that. And I look forward to finishing up that series of events. It'll be myself and Graham DeBarra going to be finishing off there on the 9th of December, along with possibly one or two others, not too sure. But well done again, Stephen, and everybody else involved in getting those events up and running. We can certainly do it many events like this because we have a lot of ignorant and uneducated people still out there. And obviously I'm preaching to the choir here for the best part. Great stuff as ever. Martin needs to get this musician on, as he needs support. We need actions in all these cases. So fucked up. Yeah, I agree with you. It's together. We're stronger together. Unity, it's what's going to cause change to happen is when we stand up together. Divided, united we stand, divided we fall. Terry then finishes off in saying, good job, Martin, and a breath of fresh air. I suffer with bad anxiety, bouts of depression, no tablets the doc gave me worked, and only weed. The only thing that's worked is weed. It's the only thing that takes away my anxiety. I think protests be great. Coke uniforms. Yeah, that's kind of what I see them like when you're wearing a suit, like. Or the other thing I see a suit as well, like, is like the fellas going into court. It's like, if I wear a suit, that's ultimately what's going to be assumed. I've had one or two people say to me before, jokingly I might add, at things like christenings or something like that, where I might throw on a suit, and they're like, "Jesus, Martin, your court suit is looking fine," or something along those lines. I don't like to dress myself up for court or for this or for any form of activism at all. I dress myself up for weddings, for funerals, for christenings, for family events, for times of celebration. That's what I would dress myself up for. It's not to celebrate about going to court. It's not to celebrate about having to be involved in activism. It doesn't, like, I'm happy here delivering this to you, and because I'm enjoying the process, but I'm not happy that I'm here having to do this, if you understand what I mean. So activism, it's a form of work. I enjoy it, but it's, it's something I wish I didn't have to do, obviously. And that's it, guys. Thanks, everybody, for your input. Really appreciate everybody's participation here, all of the comments, all of the likes, the shares, guys. Thanks to everybody who's after signing up to the Patreon as well, guys. I haven't mentioned any names there as of yet. I'll see if it's okay to get the names rolling there on the Patreons soon, before I release your names. But I'd like to just thank you as well, because it's amazing. In a couple of months, hopefully, once these regulations or these restrictions around the coronavirus are stepped back, we can start making moves to getting the clubhouse open, to bring the activists together, to bring the cannabis community together, to put on some kick-ass events for socialising, and also some powerful protests as well to get cannabis legalised in Ireland. So, guys, that's it. That's all for today. Thanks very much for listening. It's been a pleasure. Stay blazed, guys. Keep her lit, and peace.